Welcome back to First Edition. Last week, you may recall, we asked our viewers during Speaker's Corner about their favorite smells. Well, the discussion got us wondering, why do people so often have such strong memories attached with these favorite smells? Well, here to discuss the psychology behind smell, memories, and emotions is Dr. Janine Hubbard in this week's edition of Get Psyched with Dr. Janine. Great to see you. Great colors you're wearing today.
Embracing the sunshine in all ways possible.
Absolutely. So, is there really an association between smell and memory?
There actually is, and there's science behind it even. Of all of our senses, smell is actually the one that has the strongest association with memory and emotion, which surprises a lot of people because we don't necessarily think of that immediately. And it's actually kind of neat. It has to do with how our brain is structured and how it processes information. And in the case of smell, basically the way it goes in and is processed by our brain is it goes through something called the olfactory bulb, but then before it kind of gets processed, it goes through two other systems in our brain, the amygdala and the hippocampus, which is just fun to say, but they are the areas in our brain that are responsible for emotions and for memory. So as we are processing that smell, it's kind of layering in on both of the emotions and the memory systems, which explains why it is something that is so powerful for us. So that when you have something, perhaps a smell you haven't smelled since childhood, and you just get this wave of emotional reaction, and sometimes it's just the emotion. You may not even remember the memory, and sometimes it's that wonderful memory of, you know, something from your childhood, something that you remember really positively and really fondly.
Are there some smells that are liked or disliked by pretty much everyone?
There's a huge amount of individual difference. My love for the smell of cilantro, I know, definitely isn't shared by everyone. There are a few universal dislikes. Generally, they are ones that adaptively are out there to keep us safe. So, for example, the smell of rotting food is one that is universally, everybody kind of goes, ugh, and that makes sense because that keeps us safe. We do know, unfortunately, that smells can be a PTSD trigger for a number of individuals, and that's hard because that's one that can often catch them off guard and unexpected.
Why is it important to study and understand the relationship between smell, memories, and emotions?
Well, besides the fact that it's just kind of fun and it, you know, nicely evokes some thoughts and some memories for us, but one of the things that we know from the research is that people who lose their sense of smell tend to have an increased level of depression. So, and again, for ages we've kind of known that, but often thought, well, maybe it's because they're having more difficulty tasting, so they're not enjoying themselves in the same way. But now that we're kind of better understanding that, well, there is an association with how we process emotions as well as the memories. There may be some association happening there. And more relevant recently is, of course, the fact that COVID, one of the early symptoms for a lot of people was a loss of smell. And so we're still in the early stages of understanding, well, kind of what have been the effects of that and what's that going to look like long term, even once some of that smell has resumed for people who had that as a primary experience.
You and I spoke about this just before we came on the air. You asked what my favorite smell was. I love the smell of a lot of things, but I think the nicest smell for me, the thing I really like, is the smell of my daughter. What does that mean? I
love that when you share that, and actually that makes sense from an evolutionary standpoint, because that means you're going to be a good protective mom and take care of your offspring. It also just means you're a good mom and you, you know, have that strong bond with your daughter. And certainly there's a ton of research out there looking at the connection of smell with romantic partners. That's a whole other really interesting body of literature that, you know, certainly, again, obviously has some adaptive traits behind it.
Dr. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much for coming in. It's been fun.
Thanks as always.